Welcome back to the training, Creating a Trauma-Informed Library. We've now moved on to Module 3, Trauma-Informed Principles. This is Lesson 7, Trauma-Informed Principles. Being trauma-informed is about changing mindsets from what is wrong with you to what happened to you. Trauma-informed care involves 6 relatively easy and straightforward steps. These steps are not always linear and can be blurry. Therefore, each step must be kept in mind during interactions. Understanding. Hopefully by now in these trainings, you have gained an understanding of trauma and the impacts trauma can have on mental states, physical health, and behavior. Keep in mind the impacts trauma can have before assigning judgment to someone, as they may be coping the best they can. Compassion. It is crucial when interacting with people who have experienced trauma that you show them compassion and empathy, and that being compassionate and empathetic is a normal state rather than the exception. Of course, this concept should extend to you as well. You are not always going to act exactly how you hope or expect to react, and that's okay. You're not always going to do the things you expect from yourself, and that's okay. Modeling compassion for yourself is important to making people feel comfortable with the idea that you are compassionate and that compassion and understanding is expected in the environment. When you show that to others and don't extend it to yourself, you run the risk of telling people implicitly that you either look down on them, pity them, or that you say one thing while meaning another. Responsiveness and cultural humility. The American Library Association defines cultural humility as a practice of self-reflection on how one's own background and expectations impact a situation, of openness to others determining the relevance of their own identities to any given situation, and of committing to redress the effects of power imbalances. It is important to try to understand other people's worldviews and how their experiences throughout life impact how they perceive things. While it is on you to try to be understanding of different worldviews, it is also important to create an environment where people feel comfortable discussing their different experiences and perspectives. Additionally, everyone is human and everyone makes mistakes. When mistakes are made, you should do your best to acknowledge the mistake and correct it. Safety, stability. You need to establish yourself as a safe person to interact with. While that may sound intimidating, it's really about being consistent and explicit in expectations. If people know what you expect of them, they know what to expect out of interactions with you, especially if you've already established yourself as a compassionate person who understands trauma and stress and wants to include diverse perspectives. This goes hand in hand with the concept of boundaries, which we'll discuss in greater length later. Know now that boundaries are helpful in establishing these expectations for interacting with you. Being a safe person also means stepping into situations should they become unsafe and the person explicitly asks for your help, or you ask if the person needs or wants help. Stepping in without their permission may take power from them or put them further in danger, since you may not know the entire story. An example of this principle in the workplace is turning the corner to see 2 coworkers talking. One of the coworkers, a young woman, looks uncomfortable and is up against the wall. The other coworker, a man much older than the woman and significantly larger, is standing very close to the woman. You acknowledge the woman and ask if she needs help with a project you know she is working on. This question gives her the opportunity to leave the situation if she feels like she needs to, and asks if she needs help without being so explicit as to potentially damage relationships with the male coworker. She declines, and you continue walking. Later on, she stops by your desk to thank you for offering assistance, but they were just discussing a personal matter and didn't want to be overheard by the whole office. Empowerment. Trauma is about feeling out of control for your situation and circumstances, to the point where you cannot even control your own experience and reactions. Therefore, putting power back in the hands of those who have felt disempowered is crucial. Being open to discussions and feedback, making opportunities for discussion and feedback, and allowing for input of all kinds is helpful in people feeling empowered when trauma has inherently taken the feeling of power from them. Relatedly, you should never share someone else's traumas without their explicit permission. This both undermines your ability to be seen as a safe person and takes the power away from someone to tell their own story. Being able to tell your story and live your truth can be a deeply empowering experience. Resiliency and recovery. Treat people as though they have the ability to recover from trauma rather than as irreparably broken. People can and do heal from unimaginable traumas. By treating people as though they have that capacity, they are more likely to see that possibility for themselves. By approaching every interaction with understanding, compassion, cultural humility, responsiveness, safety, empowerment, and resilience, you can contribute to someone's healing and recovery. You are also far less likely to accidentally re-traumatize someone. If you think about it, these steps of trauma-informed care are ultimately just good ways to approach everyone in life. Setting aside that everyone should be treated this way out of concern that they may have gone through trauma, these principles are how just about everyone would like to be treated. That's it for this lesson. If you want to follow the resources and additional learning on the topics covered, follow the links below. Otherwise, I will see you in the next lesson.